Pro Stock Motorcycle Champion Andrew Hines joins us now. Qualified in the number 3 spot, was the winner in his first quad, was the runner-up in his second quad to advance to the final, where he picked up his 33rd career win, and that ties you for 3rd on the all-time list of Pro Stock motorcycle racers with the late John Myers, who's obviously a legend in the category. Let's start there. Do you pay attention to that, where you stack up against the other greats in Pro Stock motorcycle?
I don't pay attention as far as stacking up to them, because those guys were phenomenal in their time. You know, it's what they did through the 90s was, with him and Dave Schultz, was outstanding, and it's cool to be tied with John Myers. You know, I grew up around drag racing and around these drag race tracks, and I remember running around as an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid having rubber band wars with John Myers, you know, shooting rubber bands at each other whenever we could. So that's really cool to tie his stat and be associated in that elite group.
Much like Robert Height, you had a teammate in the final round, and a couple other guys that are pretty hungry. You've got quite a rivalry going with Matt Smith Racing over there. Is there someone in particular that you focused on when you go up for the final, or are you just trying to block everything?
I was mainly just focused on seeing some sort of win light on my side of the track. That's what Eddie and I wanted to do. We wanted to go out there and be winner and runner-up. It didn't matter, you know. Obviously, each one of us wants to win the race, but as a team, we wanted to take home winner and runner-up position. So we were just focused on seeing lights flash or be solid, whatever the case may be. And either one of us didn't want to win that round because we were both 60 on the tree, and those guys slaughtered us off the starting line. But luckily, we found some performance in our B-rods over the last 5 weeks, and it's slowly paying off. You know, we got some good momentum right now. We struggled on Friday, however, and it was just a team effort to figure out what was wrong, get the bikes to leave the starting line, because we saw they were running big enough speed to compete with the guys in the front. And we all pulled together, banded together, and figured out what needed to happen. And Saturday was a totally different day, and it also translated to Sunday.
The unique schedule that the motorcycles run, your first event is Gainesville, and as you mentioned, some weeks off before you get back to it. Are you ready now as the schedule starts to pick up a little bit?
I think we'll be more ready as the schedule picks up. We ran well here, but I think it's only going to get better. And we have some really interesting stuff in the works that we're going to bring out probably around Englishtown. So I think it's only going to get better from here. And you know, we were happy to come here and be as fast as we were, and to leave here with a Wally is even that much better. But these Harleys are going to be tough to deal with, and hopefully we're turning some heads.
Can you elaborate on what it is that you're going to spring on everybody?
It's nothing cosmetic, it's not new body or anything. It's just all
I didn't figure that. Yeah, Vance and Hines has been about horsepower from day one.
You won't see the parts because they'll be moving inside the motor. How about that?
We're going to have to send some spies over there. Yeah, Bobby, go ahead.
Bobby Bennett, Competition Plus. Last year you guys had to start over with a new-old combination. Is the Screaming Eagle Harley-Davidson team where they want to be at right now?
We're close. We want to be a little better. You know, some guys are still out mile-an-houring us, and that shows horsepower. So we're obviously still down just a little bit, but we're right there enough to where they're not going to run away from us in the back half of the track now, like they were all last year. So we've made tremendous strides over the winter to pick up, you know, a lot of horsepower, and it's affected our gear ratio tuning, which affects our leaves. So we're going to have to revisit some transmission ratios here in the near future. We don't have a whole lot to choose from since we make all our own. A lot of these guys buy them from transmission companies, and it's like a pro stock car. Those guys are changing transmission ratios all the time. But we've just kind of set in stone with what we got, and we figure if we can go fast with what we have, eventually we can work on it and try and make it better. So, you know, we want to be qualifying #1 is the main thing. And I feel if we would have made, you know, decent runs on Friday, we probably could have been, you know, 1 and 2, or at least got Eddie higher in the field, closer to, you know, 2 or 3 also. But as the countdown gets closer, we're gonna hopefully step our game up and get back to old form.
Are you guys kind of uneasy about getting too dominant?
No, the rules are what they are now. I think NHRA's done what they had to do to level it out, and you look at V-twin, that's what it is, and it's just a matter of keeping the 4 cylinders in check, and obviously they've given them what they needed to so far. Those guys just have to find their combination.
You need this, but just because of the unique format of this race, is there a little more pride as a rider to be able to block out the distractions it seems like the rider has more to do than the crew chief at this event.
There's a lot that goes into this race, and it's one of those novelty things, but I've never even had a round one here. And Charlotte was a bad track to me for a long time until I broke through a couple years ago. It took me through, I think, my fourth season racing here. We finally got my first round win, even in a 2-wide race. So this is our third time running 4-wide as the pro stock motorcycle class. And, to get the first win light was big, and then to make it all the way to the third quad and to see the win light flashing on the side of the track was tremendous. There's a lot going on up there on the starting line. You got to figure out what lane you're in, and you never know what's going to happen. It seems like some rounds guys are taking a long time to stage, and the final it was like who could stage first, because I was the last guy to pre-stage and I never stopped rolling and I staged last. So they were like, everybody was in a hurry to get to the finish line. Luckily I was the last one to stage, but the first one to get to the stripe.